Good evening. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. I guess I'll forewarn you right now, I don't really have a plan for this video, so we'll see if I can keep it from going too far awry. We'll start off with the 7-day forecast that I posted earlier. As you all know, it's hot, and it's been hot, and it's going to stay hot for the next few days. There are some, even though we've not had much rain, there are a couple of things that we need to watch, including overnight tonight. And I'll touch on that here in just a minute as well. Taking a look, if you missed the post last weekend, I did get a Tempest WeatherFlow Tempest weather station. It's streaming online. I have talked to Jordan Hobbs. He's working on setting up the link where the data from this weather station will stream to the madcoweather.com website. That way you'll always have the latest conditions on there. So he's just got to figure out how the plugins work, and we'll get a nice interface going. This weather station also kind of has to be trained, so it's going through some learning and some calibration as well. So it'll get more and more accurate. At least it's supposed to get more and more accurate. So we've got the UV calibrated. WeatherFlow does all that stuff, so I kind of have to tell them what it's doing right and wrong, and they calibrate. So at any rate, enough of rambling on that. It's 7:30 p.m. as I'm shooting this, and as you can see on your screen, it is still 90 degrees with a 99 degree feels like temperature. We topped out here in North Anderson at 94 degrees, and the maximum heat index that I saw was 108. So it was pretty toasty today. Tomorrow, if we avoid storms, may get even a little bit hotter. So it's one of the hotter stretches we've had in a couple of years, but it's the first really nasty hot stretch. Well, maybe the second we've had this summer. As a whole, this summer hasn't been that bad though. So with that, we'll move on. Let me get off of this stuff. So the first thing I want to take a look at is the model output for tonight. Again, I don't go by the models, but they're good for visualization. This is the NAM 3K, and it's actually kind of doing the best, if you want to say the best. I'll show you what I mean by it here in a minute. This was for, see, we're at 7:30 right now. So this, let me click this up at an hour. So this would be for 7 p.m. Where everything should have been, and you can see it had a little storm cluster here and another little storm cluster in northeastern Illinois, and this was more aggressive than the HRRR. So we'll go to the College of DuPage and turn on the satellite, let it get itself loaded up the radar, and as you can see, the model, even though it's more aggressive than the HRRR, it's actually underperforming considerably. So we've got this type of storm cluster we've seen before, and you can't really predict what they're going to do. They're very much, they're very finicky, I guess. Sometimes they find a source of energy that you don't expect, and they'll really get themselves together, become clusters that bring damaging winds and a lot of rain. Other times they'll kind of just run out of energy. They'll run out of what's feeding them, and they'll just fade. That's kind of been our fate here the last month or so. So we'll watch this cluster coming out of northwestern Illinois, see if it keeps itself together. By around midnight or so, maybe it'll be getting closer to northwestern Indiana, and we'll have a better idea of whether it's going to hold itself together or not. So our rain fortunes overnight and in the morning kind of depend on what this cluster wants to do. We'll go back to the NAM 3K and take a look at what it had. Let me move this a little bit. So this is getting in. Here's around midnight. Excuse me, midnight, and it has a cluster into northeastern Indiana. That might be a little bit quick, but we'll see. Sometimes these things will pick up the pace, but what you'll see is it kind of dives it off to our northeast. I don't know that I think if that cluster makes its way into Indiana, I don't think it's going to go to our northeast. They have a tendency to want to turn and head south as they get themselves together. So we'll just have to wait and see what it does. The NAM 3K does then keep a couple little clusters around, but then it wants to put a better cluster together around This will be around 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Not really a good time for this type of storm system, but sometimes they do it. So, and just keep in mind that we may have a couple of chances for some rounds of storms tomorrow, or it may do exactly what it's been doing the last month and kind of show itself and maybe rain on, a couple of us, but not most of us. So we'll just have to watch that. The models, again, just for visualization, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. Again, in reality, the model was way off on this, so we'll just have to see what, I'll update you later on and on the progress of this. So going forward, we're going to take a look at the pattern ahead. I know everybody's getting a little bit tired of this ridiculous heat. I stopped on this GEFS screenshot for Friday just to kind of show, because this image really shows you the temperature gradient that's sitting just to our north in Michigan and across Wisconsin versus what we're having down here. I think these temperatures are probably a little cool for Friday, but it just visually shows you how sharp that cutoff is. And back when we were getting a lot of rain, this cutoff was always sitting down across our area. Now, as we're in the heat of summer, that's pushed north, as to be expected. I do think over the next couple of weeks we'll start to see this migrate back south as we start to get into the fall season. So then that was just a little visual thing. So now we'll stick with the AM3K, and we're going to take a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies, because we're kind of, usually I do a pretty good job of getting these longer term patterns right, going out of the Bering Sea and a couple, several of the other drivers. We were waiting on, expecting a cool down during this stretch, and as you can see on here, you can't always go by the reds and blues, but in this case, they're lined up pretty well. You can see that the cooler anomalies have stayed west. The cooler temperatures have stayed west as we've built this huge high pressure dome to our southwest, and it's just pumping hot, dry air. Well, not dry air, but hot, humid air, but no precipitation really to go along with it. And as you watch, again, this is visualization, and you keep your eye on this heat dome right across here, the 591. Watch the lines, not the colors, and you watch it, and you just see this heat dome just keeps holding itself up, and you can see those blues going up and over the top. All of this stuff is just these little cool shots that we were waiting on keep getting deflected to our north and kind of going up and over us as the hot dome sits and stays put. We do think that's going to break down next week, probably starting around Monday or so. So into early next week, then we see that breakdown, and then we've got the hot dome sitting out over the desert southwest a little more where we would prefer it to be, and we'll drop down to some more seasonable temperatures. Our average temperatures right now are, for a high, are 82, and low is I can't even remember now, 61 I believe. So should be lower 80s and lower 60s for our highs and lows, and we'll be around that for a little bit next week. We'll get a reprieve. But then as we progress on, and I'm showing you the GEFS, and I do think it's basically on the right track. It's not going to be exact, but it's basically on the right track. So I'm going to go ahead and show you farther out. And what you'll see as we get into, this is next Thursday the 2nd, we're starting to see this 588 ridge build back in. Around this time of year, that's going to correlate with upper 80s, lower 90s, depending on the airflow. And so we're going to see this heat start to try to build back in as we get out to the end of the loop on it. It's still loading. But so we can kind of just see that we're going to get a temporary reprieve next week of some decent temperatures. Then we're going to heat back up. I don't think we're going to get this hot again. It may happen. I may be dead wrong. But I don't think we're going to be looking at low to mid 90s again after this next few days. But to make some runs into the upper 80s to around 90, that's still going to be on the table in a couple of shots during September. So, and we can never really rule 90 degrees out until probably the second week of October. So I don't think it's going to be that hot that late, but we can never rule it out. So that's just kind of a look at the what we're anticipating in the longer range. Again, hot the next few days, about average next week, at least the first, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and then we'll start to warm back up again. I think there may be another cool shot mid-month. By cool is relative. Again, probably just back down to about average, and then we'll warm back up. Overall, September is probably going to finish warmer than average, and it's probably going to finish drier than average, although I do think we're going to start getting better precipitation chances. Not great precipitation chances, but better. And what better than what we've had is anything's going to be better than what we've had. So here in the not too distant future, I'm going to do something. I never really do a winter forecast until at least mid-October to do a preliminary. But I just want to show you real quick what's going on with the sea surface temperatures in the ENSO region. That's El Nino and La Nina, that region that controls those. And what feeds our area the most is ENSO 3.4, which is kind of out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean along the equator. When you're higher in these charts, it's more of an El Nino type signal, and when you drop, that's more of a La Nina type signal. And all of this is really in the neutral territory, but you can see we were warm neutral back when we were getting some rain, and right as it started to drop off is where we started to dry up a little bit. And once we dropped below zero, here around the 17th, 18th, 19th of July, ever since then we've been pretty dry as this has dropped off. That's a hot and dry signal in the summer. As we get into the winter, if the 3.4 index stays, we would prefer it to be kind of negative neutral. We want it to be kind of cold, but not really cold. And if you want snow, that's what you want. So last year we spent a lot of time pretty strongly negative, and it wasn't until a couple of things changed in February. We had that 3-week stretch where we got a whole winter worth of snow in 3 weeks, and really in 18 days. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think instead of having a back-loaded winter like the last few, I actually think we're going to have a front-loaded winter. And but it's still a long way out. But we are watching the ENSO 3.4, watching those sea surface temperatures. This is the absolute temperatures, and you can really see the cooler waters dipping in out here along the west coast, which is feeding their drought because they're not getting any kind of lift out there to help fuel some precipitation. So that's one of the big reasons they're having the drought out in California. And unfortunately, that's probably going to continue for them throughout the winter until we start to shift back to an El Nino type pattern maybe next spring or so. So their drought is going to be ongoing probably well into the winter. So I'll deal with this stuff more later on. This video is probably getting a little too long. But we are starting to look at the winter pattern. And it may be a fun winter for snow lovers, at least at the beginning. Usually we get past Christmas with no snow, and then it starts snowing. So hopefully we'll have some snow on the ground for Christmas this year. Again, long way out. Can't really say for sure. Last thing I want to talk about is the future of the page. As you know, I had set a deadline that was coming for this Friday to see where we were with donations and subscriptions. And I was going to terminate the page this Friday. I've mentioned a couple of times in text and a couple of my posts, but I want to make sure I put it in this video as well. We've picked up some new subscribers. Not a lot, but we have picked up some new subscribers. We've had a couple of very generous donations, and a few other people donate pretty well. Anything helps. We've got a couple of subscribers that are doing $1 a month. But when you think about the thousands of people following this page, that can be huge. And I don't just want to. I want to make clear that I'm not just trying to make money for myself. That's part. I do want to, make a little compensation for the time I put into it and stuff. But I also want to do things to help with Madison County, help our weather coverage, help weather safety. I'm kind of wired to put some money back into where it comes from as well. So, at any rate, the way things have gone, we did have a, kind of like last year, we had a burst of donations, and then they've generally fallen off. So I'm going to extend until Friday, September 17th, and see if things pick back up again, or if it is just a flash in the pan. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do when the 17th comes around, if it stays kind of slow. But enough people have put some money in that I don't want to go to a private thing, but I might do that if need be. But hopefully donations will pick back up. Really, subscriptions are the best, because then that's monthly money that I know is coming, and I can plan on what services I can buy. I really need to get a computer dedicated to the weather. So those are things that I'm working toward, and hopefully y'all think this page is worth enough to put your money into it a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. Anything helps, and we'll keep it going, hopefully. So again, I'm extending till Friday, September 17th. We'll see how it goes, see if things pick back up or not, and then I'll decide from there. I definitely want to have a final decision before we get into snow season. So with all that said, I don't even know how long this video is, probably way too long. But with all that said, this is Michael Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.